Hello everyone, in today's video I'll show you how to crochet those scrap yarn pants. And don't be scared because this is super easy tutorial and it looks way more difficult than it really is. So don't be afraid because you will definitely be able to do this. It's worked up with double crochet only and a slip stitch used to join the row into round. So you will only need a double crochet, slip stitch and a chain. This is made to measure tutorial, so you will be able to do this in your own size, in whatever length you want. I hope you will enjoy this tutorial. If you do, don't forget to hit subscribe, like this video, and let's get into it. So to make those pants you will obviously need some yarn. I have just an example of what I will be using and it will be mainly scraps. We'll be using double knit aran and I will sometimes use a strand of mohair with those yarns, but since this is a made to measure, you can use any yarn. Then you will need a appropriate hook. I will be using 4.5mm one, then needle, couple of stitch markers and scissors. And the pattern will start with the bottom of the pants. So the first thing you need to do is to find out how big you want your pants to be. I did 80 stitches in total for my first pair, but for the one I'm making in this video, since I'm making it a second time, I want them to be slightly different, so I'll do 65 stitches this time instead to achieve more of a slimmer fit, if I can say so, because these are quite wide, but it's up to you to decide what length you want your pants to be. And we will be working rows up until the point where the second part of the pants will join, so the stitch count will remain the same up until this part. And once you have decided on the length that you will do your pants, you will need to make a slip knot, which you can do by twisting your yarn to make a loop like this, and then grab your tail through, put your hook into that slip knot and tighten it up. Like I said, I'm gonna chain 65 because I have 65 stitches for the length. And once you've got your chain done, so now you want to kind of run your hand through your chain, making sure that it's not twisted. Grab the end of it where your first chain was, and with your hook go into that first chain to do a slip stitch. Just like this, and our rows will be worked in double crochet, so I need to chain 2 to begin the round, and I won't be counting these chains 2 as a stitch, but I'll show you at the end how to join in the round. So to start off, you want to do double crochet in that first chain, which you can do by yarning over, going into that chain, pulling up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. And this is what you will need to repeat across your chain. So I'm just gonna finish my first row by doing double crochets in all chains, and I will meet you at the end. And when you come to an end of your row, you want to find your first double crochet. So skip the chain, put your hook into the first double crochet and do a slip stitch to join the round. And this is how your first row should look like. So it shouldn't be twisted at all once you join your initial chain. And I would suggest to put this on throughout the full length of your leg, just to make sure that it fits, because the stitch number won't change and the length will be pretty much the same with each row. So make sure that it fits before doing more rows. But once you settled on the length of your pants, you want to chain 2 to begin the next row and do double crochet into that same stitch, and continue making those double crochets in all stitches till you come to the end of your row 2. If you're making this in solid color using one yarn, you won't need to change color. But if you are using scrap yarn or want to use multiple colors, I will show you how to change the color when I come to the point of changing from this yellow. So I'm just gonna do my stitches and I will meet you then when it's time to change it. So this is where I will change my color. I'm just gonna do my last stitch in this color, and you don't want to pull through last 2 loops. Leave it like that, and you can then cut your current color off, leaving a bit of a tail. Grab your new color, put it around your hook, and pull it through those 2 loops. And as you probably already seen, I'm leaving those tails on purpose. If you don't like them and you want to hide them in, you can simply have them at the back, and when you do your stitch, have it above your hook. So when you do your stitch, you carry your tails in just like this, and continue doing your stitches as normal. But I am leaving those tails in front, so I'm just gonna go back, undo my stitches and bring them forward, and then I will do my double crochets. But you can also hide them with the needle if you prefer for them to be more secure than just carrying it in. And if you are doing the tails just like I am, leaving them in front, you can make 2 knots just to secure them, and this is what I did throughout my pants, just making 2 simple knots to make sure that they are secure. And just like that, you will continue making your rows until it's long enough. And I am changing colors. I usually do from 1 to 4 rounds, depending how big my scraps are. Sometimes I do finish on purpose because I've got that color in quite a bit of a yarn, so I would finish off on purpose, then change color to any other. But yeah, you can kind of be creative and create your own colorways. But yeah, just like that, you will do your rows. When you come to the end, always join with the first double crochet here, skipping the chain. And then I will meet you once I complete the length of my leg. But yeah, just to show you one more time, when you come to an end of your row, skip the chain and go into the first double crochet, pull up a loop and pull that loop through your loop on your hook. Then chain 2 and begin your new row. And I have here one side of the pants finished. It's once again 65 stitches and I've got 64 rows in total. Let me try and show the full length. But yeah, this is how it looks. I do a bit more rows because I do wear platform shoes often, and I want the pants to be long enough to cover up those shoes and the height that I have wearing those shoes. But if you don't, you can then just make your regular length pants. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that this is something that you think of. If you do wear platformed Uggs, platform Converse for example, you want to make a bit more rows just to make sure that those pants are not too short for the height that you have with the platform shoes on. And once you finish your one side, you will basically need to do the same thing again, and then I will meet you once I got both those sides done. So I've got one of the side on, as you can see, and by saying that you need to complete your rows up until this point, so you need to have your pant long enough from this part of your body down to the bottom. And once you do this, the next thing that you will need to do is to figure out how many stitches you need to leave out, because we will continue with the rows down this side to cover up the front, and as well down this side to cover up the back. So you want to count the stitches that you need to leave for this area down there. I hope this makes sense. But yeah, for the bigger, more flared pants, I did 16 stitches. So yeah, and just by holding it like this, you can kind of see how many stitches you need to leave, and that's 12 stitches for me. So that means that I will be leaving 12 stitches out for that area, because if I do crochet over it, I won't be able to put the pants on. So I'm gonna leave out 12 stitches and do the stitches for the remaining side. So just in case it's not clear enough, I grabbed my straight pants, and you basically work your rows up until this area there. So your pant length should be now at this point, and what you will need to do is basically figure out how many stitches you need to leave for this part. So it's 12 stitches for me. If you made wider pants like I did for the ones you see in the thumbnail, I left out 16 stitches for the bigger ones. But yeah, just basically put that on your leg and see how many stitches you need to leave out. So yeah, once you've got your pants, you want to fold it that way so it is straight, because when you work in rounds, your seam should come out diagonal. So as you can see here, the seam goes that way. So what you want to do is grab it by the seam and fold it that way so it's a bit straighter. I hope this makes sense, but yeah, basically try your best, even though it's gonna look like it's not gonna fold that way. But yeah, I just folded mine and it seems pretty straight. So this is where I'm now gonna count my 12 stitches. So I will be counting from this middle part where you have your seam, and I will do 6 one way and 6 the other. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna put my stitch marker in, and then from this one, not counting the chain, 6 as well. So these are the stitches I'm not gonna be working in, and I will work in the ones from the stitch marker to the stitch marker there. And now when you're ready to do your rows, you will need to figure out if basically this length, so from those 2 stitch markers multiplied twice, is the length of your waist, just to make sure that it fits. If you're making wider pants, it's most likely will be way bigger, so you would need to do a couple rows of decreases just to decrease towards the waist. And for the leg wide pants that I made, I did 4 rows of decreases. So I did 2 decreases per 1 row, which decreased my row by 2 stitches, and I did it 4 times. So basically I decreased those stitches by 8, and I was happy how big the waist was basically. But another thing to consider is that you don't want to decrease too many because you might not be able to put it on. And since these pants are quite tight, I won't be able to do the decreases, so this length is gonna be half my waist, and I will be continuing with the simple rows up until I reach the length of my preferred waist basically. But I will show you how to do decreases if you need to decrease at all, but this is something you will need to figure out how many you need to decrease until you reach your preferred waist length basically. So now I'm just gonna put my hook into the stitch next to the stitch marker. I'm gonna grab one of my colors, I'll insert it in, chain 2 to begin, and I'll do double crochet in that same stitch, and I will be making double crochets for this row up until I'm in this stitch. And now I just did my last double crochet. Once again, these are the stitches I'm not working in, I'm leaving as it is. And to begin next row, you want to chain 2 and turn your work, as we are now working in the rows and not rounds. So I'm gonna now show you how to do the row of the creases. I like to start with the regular double crochet in the first stitch and then do the crease in the next 2. And to do the crease, you want to yarn over, go into your next stitch, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 2. Leave the 2 loops on your hook and then yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And to complete the decrease, you want to yarn over, pull through all 3. And as you can see, those 2 stitches emerge into one, making 1 stitch out of 2. Then you will continue with your double crochets as normal until you have 3 stitches left. So let me just complete those and I will meet you at the end of my row. And when you have 3 stitches left, what you want to do is do the crease in these 2 and do normal double crochet in the very last one. This just helps to keep the edges neater. And to do the crease, you do unfinished double crochet, the same thing in the next one until you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through. In the last one, you will do double crochet. There it is. And just like that, your row decreased by 2 stitches. And this is how it will look. Depending on how many rows of those decreases you do, it will become narrower towards the waist. I'm not gonna do any decreases. I will redo this row with just normal double crochets because my pant is already small enough, so if I do decrease, then I won't be able to put them on. With the wider ones, it was quite a lot of space and the waist would have been huge if I didn't do decreases. So it's now up to you to figure out how many of those decreases you need to do. I would just recommend always, if you do a couple of decrease rows, put it on, try it on and see if it fits your half waist, and always leave some space so that you can actually put it on when it's all sewn together. And don't worry, waist shouldn't be snatched up all the way because we will be adding a drawstring, first of all to hold up the waist and second of all to keep the pants on, because how big they are and how much they weigh, they would be just sliding off and not staying in place. So yeah, I hope this explanation helps. It's quite hard to explain what to do for all the different sizes, but just try to do the rows with the decreases that you think you need. it might come that there will be some error and trial, and you will need to unravel those rows if you accidentally make it too small. But yeah, I would recommend just leaving it a bit looser than what you actually need, because once again we will be adding a drawstring just to keep those pants in place. So yeah, now you need to continue doing the rows, whether that's just a double crochet rows or a couple of the rows with the creases and then just normal rows, until you reach your desired length of your waist, whether that's low rise, mid rise, or high waist. So yeah, I'm gonna do my rows and I will meet you at the end. And I now have finished. I did 14 rows in total from this one there. You will have your stitches left right there, and you can of course do as many rows as you want depending on the look you're going for, but this is how it should look. Now you will need to repeat the same exact thing for your second panel as well, so it's going to be exactly the same, and I'll meet you once you've got your second done. And if it helps, this is the wider pair that I did. I also did 14 rows for this bit, and my first 4 rows were with 2 decreases for those each 4 rows, and then I just did double crochets for 10 rows. While this pair was purely just the double crochets, I haven't done any decreases because this is a bit smaller, so I just did the rows. But yeah, once again, depending on what size you've got your pants, you will either do decreases to kind of make it smaller towards the waist, or if it's quite slim, then you can just do double crochets. So I'm just gonna finish my second one and I will meet you then. And once you have finished both of your legs, you will now need to sew it together, making sure that you are aligning those rows. When you come to those stitches that you skipped, you will join them together as well. So just like this, you can kind of use your stitch marker and place it through both stitches just like that, just to secure it in place, and then you will need to join another side of rows as well. So I have finished with the long tail for one of the pieces. I will fold them right sides in, and I will sew using simple straight stitch. Just make sure that each row is aligned up until this point. And as you can see, I'm just going through both panels from one side to the other and then back the other way as well. If you haven't finished with a long tail, that's fine. Just grab any color yarn and sew it together. And when you reach the crotch area, you will basically have the same amount of stitches for both of them, so you just need to join through the stitches, and it's 12 for me, so I'll be sewing together those 12 stitches. And it's the same way as I did for the side as well. Then you can take your stitch markers out, and all you left to do is to join these pieces together. So I'm just gonna finish joining this side and I will meet you at the end. And once you're done, you will need to hide your tail in, so I'm just gonna go into a couple of stitches down one way, then back the other, And I will repeat this a couple of times just to make sure that this tail is secure. And once you're done, you can cut the tail off. And now the last thing that we will need to do is to do a chain, which will be our waistband. I'm gonna be using those two colors together just to make it a bit thicker. I'll start off by doing a slip knot. And I will be basically chaining amount that I need so I can tie it around my waist and make a bow. Once you're done, you can cut off your yarn, pull it through, and this is how it will look. I did about 150 chains. Before finishing off, you can always just put around your waist to see if it is long enough. And now I'll show you how to put this into your pants. And this is how it will look all joined up. Now you will need to grab your cord that you made, grab your hook. I will insert it 3 stitches to the side from the seam just to begin with. And I will be going about 5 stitches apart, weaving this chain in all around. So yeah, you can do different amount of stitches, but yeah, you just basically need to weave it in. And I'm nearly at the end here, so I'm just gonna skip this bit just to make it symmetrical to this one. And this is how it will look with that chain inside. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to hit subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you in my next one.